Hello everybody and welcome back to the Kingdom Hearts 3 playthrough. So, Ziggy's back in the game, you know, Zigbar. Voiced brilliantly once again by James Patrick Stewart, and I mean, really, as I said, everyone does a phenomenal job in this game. It's great, and I do think that pretty much all of the members of the new organisation, the real organisation 13, I don't know what you want to call them, doesn't really matter anyway. They all do a really damn good job throughout this, and it's really quite awesome. Also, they're so sly, it's ridiculous. But today we have a pretty epic thing occurring. Like, we're going to have very, very, very exciting stuff taking place towards the end of this part. I mean, a lot of the world in Kingdom Hearts 3 are quite long. Like, I'd say most of them you're looking at probably at least 2 hours of gameplay, which, for the Kingdom Hearts games, that is certainly feels longer than we've had before. I mean, technically it's not, but I mean, if you look at, say, like Dream Door Distance, you had pretty much like an hour for both, so an hour for Sora, an hour for Riku. So they did always feel shorter, whereas here they always feel, bar one particular world, another one included, but less so. They all feel pretty substantial in terms of the time that you spend in them, and that means that for the most part you have enough time to settle in with all the characters and love them. And here we get introduced to attractions. Now, the attraction commands are quite awesome. They look great. They are all based on like the I believe it's the Main Street Electrical Parade, which, yeah, they visually look amazing, and they're all quite exciting. Some of them are better than others, but they are all quite fun. So yeah, so the Main Street Electrical Parade is a nighttime parade created by Robert Janney and project director Ron Mizica, featuring floats and live performers covered in over 600,000 electronically controlled LED light and a synchronised soundtrack triggered by radio control along key areas of the parade route. So you've had various versions across all of the Disney parks, well, 5 Disney parks worldwide, but as of August 21st, only one continues to exist, which is a shame. But it is still quite a fun thing, because I mean they look great and they sparkle, and it's just great. A lot of people do believe that the attraction commands are definitely overpowered. I would agree, and part of me thinks that they do perhaps turn up a little bit too often. So you don't necessarily feel that you have to work towards getting them, unlike, you know, with the ground magic and the form changes and stuff. And because they end up kind of putting you into the attraction for a bit, you end up sort of feeling like you're just sort of sitting around doing nothing, even if you are. Which, I don't quite know how I feel about it. I like the attraction commands, but I wouldn't necessarily say that they're my favourite thing to have been introduced to the franchise. I'm sort of in that sort of mid-territory. Sometimes they're really cool, and sometimes they're like, too much, too overpowered. But the key thing is that when you're in an attraction command, you can be hurt. So I suppose that's the balancing act that they've got there.
Oh, look. More trouble.
It's Hades.
Herc, let's go!
Right.
So now that we've gone through all of Thebes, it is time for us to head up Mount Olympus proper. And, I mean, before we actually go do that, you know, I'm just going to check around this area for treasure chests, because, you know there's always going to be some. Like, I mean, you'd be daft to think that there weren't going to be any chests. But there aren't that many about, so it's not too horrendous. Honestly, Olympus opens up quite a bit once you've beaten the world itself, so that's fine. And also I feel so there's a few words that obviously we've had throughout this whole shebang, but the Agora, which we're in right now, is basically just a central public space in ancient Greek city-states. There's a few sort of words like that you see around Olympus, and it's just quite fun. But I mean, mostly it's things like the Big Olive and stuff like that. But yeah, in terms of enemies that obviously we get in here, obviously you've got shadows, soldiers, air soldiers, large bodies, which we've seen many times before. The water cores and the flame cores, and shortly, I believe, the earth cores from 0.2 return, which are it's nice to see them because they are quite funky designs.
We need to get to the top of the mountain and stop Hades.
But we are also going to... Well, we have also seen a brand new Heartless, which is the Satyr. Which is, I believe, those little... It's the little arrow shooting dudes who are a bit annoying. Also, I do believe that the air soldiers have definitely received a bit of an upgrade. They look a lot cooler than they have done in their previous iterations. And there are those water cores that have been causing all of this trouble. Just being an absolute blighter. It's definitely a good shout to try and get to the slightly bigger area first, if only because then you've got more room to manoeuvre in terms of dodging attacks. It doesn't hugely matter, but you don't want to sort of do like what I'm doing in terms of getting stuck in the water and getting dragged down with the current. This is also something that you will notice, is that with certain enemies in certain fights, if you stray slightly too far from the area where they spawn, then they'll despawn. It's happened in previous Kingdom Hearts games, but it can be quite noticeable here. It's fine by me, because I mean you always know that if you are in particular danger, all you need to do is run far enough away to give yourself a bit of breathing room, and that's definitely appreciated. But something else that I'll also point out is that generally the AI party members in this game are really quite helpful. Donald still doesn't maybe heal you quite as much as he probably should on his regular AI, but I'm pretty certain that you can change that AI in order to basically tell him, heal me whenever I'm low on health. Which maybe I should have done at some point, but I did not. So, Donald's going to be Donald, and I can't believe that I just completely missed that chest there. I knew I was looking for it, that was exactly the chest I was looking for, but I thought that it was further down here, and then I was just like, where is it? I can't see it. It was literally right on screen. I'm not going to pick that up until I come back through Olympus, because I'm just incredibly blind. There's also one chest which, I mean, admittedly is quite mean in the way it's hidden, in that it's in that foot statue. Basically, you've got to kind of climb up and climb into the foot, and that's where that one's hidden. That is a mean one, because I'm not sure that there's any sort of area that you can perhaps see it from. I mean, maybe if you stood on that platform you might be able to spot it. But yeah, it was one of those just going, oh dear. But yeah, it's quite nice now that we, you know, finally get to actually climb up Mount Olympus and not have Hades throws all the way back down. It's basically, it's one of the things that, you know, knocked me with Bayonetta 2. Was that it was climbing up the mountain, getting thrown back down the mountain, climbing back up the mountain, getting thrown back down the mountain, climbing all the way back up to the top. It did get a little bit tiresome after, when it was like the third time going back up. So, part of this is a bit like, oh, not again. Because you do go through the same area again, but the plus side of that is that actually the area that you were in the first time wasn't that big, so you're kind of in and out of that quite quickly, which is that's fine by me. There is, however, there's one world later on which does feature a mountain, which does, for me anyway, fall foul of the climbing up, climbing down, climbing up, climbing down. And I would say that's probably my biggest issue with that world. A lot of other people have major problems with it, and they really don't like it. Personally, I don't quite get it, but we'll discuss that when we get there. Because, I mean, obviously we're going to be in this playthrough for quite a while. Because, I mean, while I would say that in the grand scheme of things, Kingdom Hearts 3 it's not that long. Like, I mean, how shall I phrase this? So, for me, getting from beginning to end, and this was trying to collect every treasure chest, etc., it took me about 30 hours to beat Kingdom Hearts 3. And I think Kingdom Hearts 2 took me about 33, I want to say. I can't remember how long Kingdom Hearts 1 took me. I don't know whether it was like 27 or something. So it varied. But I know that it is definitely possible to beat Kingdom Hearts 3 in like 24-25 hours, which is definitely on the shorter side of Kingdom Hearts games. But that said, there is still actually quite a bit of stuff that you can do in the post game. It's not as expansive as, say, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, I think that's the one that most people will still say is their favourite Kingdom Hearts game. Personally, I've still not played the Final Mix version of Kingdom Hearts 2, but that's besides the point. I think that's the one that a lot of people turn to in terms of post-game content, because obviously you've got multiple secret / optional boss fights, because you've got Sephiroth, you've got all of the data organisation fights, you've got Lingering Will, you've got all of the Colosseum to experience, you've got all of the mini-games in Undertaker Wood, so... and also the game itself has got quite a lot of content in it, so a lot of people really kind of put that as the pinnacle of content in a Kingdom Hearts game. But I would say that ultimately Kingdom Hearts 3 is no slouch, because it has multiple optional battles. I think it only technically has one optional boss fight, but it has multiple optional battles. You've got a plethora of mini-games throughout pretty much all of the worlds, which is fun. You've also got all of the Gummy Ship stuff, and there's a surprising amount of stuff for the Gummy Ship to do in this game. Obviously we'll get to the Gummy Ship once we've gotten out of Olympus. And that's quite clearly going to have some stuff, so I am going to have to run up that wall, I'm pretty sure. So you've got all of that. You've got trying to get all the challenges done, because you've got all of the hidden Mickeys to find. There's the cooking minigame, which we'll go into. And I'm... No! I was desperately trying to get that treasure chest and failed miserably. It's because I thought I was missing stuff, so I decided to jump back down and go try and find things. Probably not my smartest move, but hey, I can do whatever I like. It's my playthrough. So yeah, I would say that there is quite a lot of stuff here. If you want to experience it. So even if the main playthrough is on the shorter side, there's still a lot of stuff here, and I would say that it's probably the most complete vanilla Kingdom Hearts game that we've ever had. So there are people complaining that there's not enough content in Kingdom Hearts 3. Honestly, I look at those people and think, I'm sorry, what is wrong with you? Like, I have played through many games that have a lot less than this, and even then they're still relatively complete games, so personally, I'm entirely happy with the amount of content that we got here. I mean, maybe I'm just a little bit overly easily pleased with certain things, and I mean, in some ways I was already predisposed to come into Kingdom Hearts 3 enjoying it, because I wanted to enjoy it when I started playing it, so looking at it in that sense, yeah, I was probably always going to find a lot to like in it, but that is not necessarily always a guarantee that you will like things when you play them, because, I mean, oh god, I'm trying to think of an example. I mean, Epic Mickey is probably a good example. I went into that game really wanting to like it, and I liked the concepts that it initially had, but the actual execution and the game itself was just incredibly disappointing. Okamiden, I went into that having absolutely adored Okami, really wanted to like it, but it just disappointed me at pretty much every turn. So, yeah, the going into something with a slight prejudice of liking it doesn't necessarily always mean that that is what's going to happen. It doesn't mean that you are definitely going to like the final product, but yeah, I was always, I think, going to like it, as long as it was at least good. And honestly, I would say personally that Kingdom Hearts 3 is more than good. It's sort of an almost perfect finale to the Xehanort saga. As I've said before, there are things that I would have done differently. There are characters that I would treat better than ultimately I believe have ended up being treated here, and I was just going completely backwards for God's sake. There are worlds that I would do slightly differently. There's sort of all that stuff going on, but honestly, yeah, put it bluntly, I'm really, really happy with the game that we got. And, I mean, I'm going to be saying this throughout, but the fun bit is coming up right now.
This sure does feel awfully familiar.
Yeah, just like before.
Guys, this is getting worse by the minute. I hope I'm wrong, but my family may need me. Sora, I'm gonna fly ahead. You've been a big help, but leave the rest to me.
Family?
Yeah. Dad's king of the gods. Yeah.
What? His father is a god, but doesn't that mean Herc is a god too?
I think it does.
No wonder he's so strong.
Then he'll be okay.
Won't he?
No, Organization 13's here. He'll need our help.
Good point. We gotta go.
Cause he was never quit.
Huh. That's tough. All I know is that she was in trouble. Suddenly, I wanted to save her with all my heart.
We fight with all our heart. Come on!
So yes, fight with all our hearts, and as we get to the mountainside, look who it is. It's the Rock Titan. And so begins a really quite epic sequence. I mean, Kingdom Hearts has always been really good at set pieces, but I will say that I think that Kingdom Hearts 3 has some of the most spectacular set pieces in the game. They're just absolutely incredible. I mean, the fact that this is in the first world alone just kind of speaks volumes, because it's just so grand, so big. Obviously, just look at how far we've climbed up Mount Olympus. It's insane. And there's the fact that, you know, we're going to get to, you know, take on the Rock Titan at the end of this. And I mean, obviously, for anybody who's played previous Kingdom Hearts games, in the original Kingdom Hearts, the Rock Titan was an optional boss. Like, he was one of the more challenging fights. I mean, he wasn't one of the most challenging fights in the game. In comparison to some of the others, he was actually quite easy. But he was still sort of a later Colosseum boss fight to many of the other fights that you faced. And I'm pretty sure we faced him down in Kingdom Hearts 2 as well. So the fact that, you know, we get to fight him here and in sort of a much more spectacular fashion than really we've ever faced him down before is just really quite epic. And yes, this is another of the delightful attraction commands. This is Blaster Blaze, which basically turns it into a first-person shooter, which is quite fun. I am terrible at first-person shooters, but I'm at least somewhat okay at this. So, not perfect, but I can still certainly make use of it. Now, obviously, because I'm playing on Proud Mode, my main thing is I want to attack and destroy as many enemies as possible, because I was very much definitely believing it's going to be slightly difficult, because Proud Mode's always been at least a challenge, and while I would say that this is probably the easiest Proud Mode that I have faced, like, the only times that I ever died in the game were in fights that were not standard, which, I mean, kind of slightly says it all, but that isn't to say that it's ridiculously easy. There are still some challenging fights, and I mean particularly sort of in this early phase when you don't have things like Cure and all of that jazz, there are situations where you can get a little bit too close for comfort. This fight is definitely one of them for me. Because obviously you've got shockwaves, you're fighting on this really quite small platform, and it is definitely very possible to get flung off if you aren't careful. All that matters at that point then is that you have to just run back up to the top. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but there are sort of moments where you're just like, oh, this is slightly scary. Also, there are some hilarious clips of people doing Goofy Bombardier and just flinging him all the way down the cliff. It's hilarious and I love it. Also, yeah, that stun impact doing absolutely sweet sod all against the Rock Titan. But yes, it's very much a case of destroy both legs before you can make any progress. But once you do make that progress, it's then time to go take on the heads. And yes, this can be quite fun. Maybe a little bit of a challenge in terms of getting the aim right, but it's still quite a delight. Also, oh yay! I don't have any items. Oh joy! I'm gonna have to be very, very, very careful. But yeah, basically, once you get the mountain coaster, which, I mean, it's amazing, you are effectively at the end of the fight. That said, it is very possible to not actually kill him during mountain coaster. So, yeah, you want to try and just run this all the way through to its end. I believe that when it reaches the end of the gauge, it will automatically go into finish. So that is okay. I think you can just sort of fire away as much as you want, but basically, yeah, you want to be aiming for Rock Titan's heads as much as is possible, because it's the only way to whittle him down.
You're gonna like this.
And as you can see, that was me doing the finish command, and it wasn't quite enough to kill him. So I think I had been doing some pretty terrible shooting, so it is entirely on me. But oh, thank God for that, Donald. Thank you for healing me. I definitely needed that, because it was going to be a very, very poor opening to this game otherwise. I would have been very, very, very embarrassed. But with this, as soon as, you know, we get on top of the Rock Titan, it's a bit too much Rock Titan crotch for me, thank you. I kind of didn't want to see that. Thank you very much. That is the Rock Titan defeated. I love that fight. It's so just gloriously large in scale. It's epic.
Yes, that's one down.
They're not so tough by themselves.
That one was dumb as a rock.
Okay, what's next?
And now that we've reached the top, the summit of Mount Olympus, there's going to be a little something that I think everybody has wanted to see in Kingdom Hearts ever since Olympus Coliseum first entered the world of Kingdom Hearts. And that is, you know, the Kingdom of the Gods. The actual Olympus. And after all these years, we are finally going to get to see it, and it's going to be absolutely incredible. And also, having just seen the ability there attached there, so when you are using the mountain coaster, if you don't press finish, then it'll just sort of end, not do a proper finish command. If I'd done that actual finish command in time, I think, potentially, I don't know, I probably would have killed him, but hey, these things happen. But yes, just through this cave here, after, you know, we've picked up some pears, because they're obviously very important. And after we break through these rocks, there it is. That beautiful, beautiful location that we have been wanting for so very long. It's time for us to enter into the Kingdom of the Gods of Olympus. Oh my god!